Hello, everybody. My name is Lena Lassiter, and I'm the founder and president of Forever Healed. We are a nonprofit dedicated to helping those who are experiencing pain due to a loss of any kind to recover and reclaim their lives. We do this several ways. We offer one-on-one and group grief recovery classes. The one-on-one classes can be done virtually or in person. We will be offering virtual group sessions soon, so hang on, more to come about that. Additionally, we offer corporate lunch and learns and seminars to discuss the hidden cost of grief in the workplace. I'm also a senior leader at a long-term care insurance company, an advanced grief recovery method specialist, and a licensed minister. I am also educated in crisis and trauma and will be graduating with a master's in counseling next year with a concentration in grief, trauma, and PTSD. I have a very special guest tonight, my very own personal trainer, John Goebel. Hey, John.
Hey guys, what's going on? How are you
Thank you so
doing?
much for joining me tonight. So I want all of you to know we have a love-hate relationship, and we'll talk more about that in a few minutes. So tonight, we will be talking about our physical health, and we're going to be doing this all month long, guys, which I believe starts in the mind. So John, you and I were just talking about a whole mindset shift. So as a result, we have speakers that are going to be lined up all month. And we talked about a vegan diet last week. We have Janae Cameron next week to talk about our commitments and food prep. And in August, we have a holistic nutritionist coming to talk about our overall health and dietary needs. So please keep in mind that they are all specialists and experts in their fields. So some of the information may contradict, but I want you to take what information is applicable to you and your personal goals and needs. So, as most of you are aware, we have paused our in-person classes due to COVID-19, as our number one priority is keeping our clients safe. The classes are very intimate, where you and other individuals are in close proximity, sharing your feelings and your homework assignments. So, while we are able to resume classes, we have decided to use caution and wisdom, and we will be resuming sometime in August or September. In the meantime, I remain committed to joining you on Facebook Live on Mondays at 7 p.m. to bring you encouragement, to bring you hope and education during this time. So tell us where you're watching. Please comment. Let John know you're here. Show him some love. Let's talk about grief for a second. Grief is the change or end of a familiar pattern or routine. There are more than 40 losses that can attribute to feelings of loss, grief, and pain. Grieving is never easy. It can be long and difficult, and at times it can be raw. But when life was normal before COVID-19, there were many social supports in place to help that process. So you could visit with friends, you could go into your office, you can go to the gym and work out, or you could attend group or individual counseling sessions. So some of our routines have ended or changed, right? So now we're doing most of these things virtually. So as a result, it may be difficult for some of us to get back motivated to working out or to properly caring for ourselves and finding connections and self-coping. We're often taught to take care of ourselves. So how do we do that? I think it's simple. We need to rest. We need to eat properly. We need to exercise. So even if that's walking around the house, and when it's not so hot outside, get some fresh air. So, John, before COVID, I was going to work. I would leave work and I would come to the gym and I would work out with you. And we would have an hour-long session.
Absolutely.
So I started grieving that, John, and although we can do it virtually, I just really miss being in the gym setting. Working out with you one-on-one, face-to-face, and also seeing other people, in the gym. So I found myself at one point walking by my gym at home. I would just close the door. I just couldn't go in there. It was just like this, again, this mindset, right? Because I'm working from home. I didn't want to work out from home. So I kind of got myself in a little slump, if you will. So I do appreciate you working out with me virtually because that does help a little bit. So what I would like for you to do is to share with our viewers just a little bit about yourself, your expertise, your training, your background before we get started on our conversation about the importance of health and exercise in life and workplace.
Alrighty, awesome. Thank you. That was amazing, by the way. So my name is John Goebel. You can find my information at the bottom below later. But basically, I have a degree from VCU in health and exercise education. I'm also an exercise physiologist as well as a personal trainer. So I basically preach a lot of holistic medicine and overall practice, which could mean anything from spiritual to physical fitness to mental state, especially as well, and kind of the whole aspect to it. And so one thing that you brought up a lot about it, I thought was very important, is having that self-care. And a big problem that if you look at our medical systems, they do, it's all about what we call tertiary care, or treating it as it comes rather than focusing on preventative medicine, which again starts at home, starts at the lifestyle you create. When you deal with a problem as it comes and then deal with it continuous, you're only going to push the basically cure back a little bit so much far. You're dealing with the issue rather than, again, if you start trying to treat it before it occurs, you can prevent that from maybe ever even occurring, or at least delaying it even farther into your life. So one of the most important factors that would be is healthy eating, healthy diet, and again, having a healthy atmosphere where your mindset, your mental state is very, very important to have a good positive attitude to where you live and being comfortable in your own environment as well. So that's one of the biggest things I preach. So let's go ahead and talk about it. What do they consider the minimum exercise? Basically, if you look at what's called American College of Sports Medicine, they talk about having about 150 minutes of moderate intensity exercise in a week. Now, what does that mean, moderate? If you want to be all technical and fancy pantsy, we can talk about 40 to 60% of what we call your VO2 max to do a kind of a general basic cardiac formula. That's not necessarily your VO2 max, but a good understanding of it. You take 220 and you subtract it by your age. So I'm 25. 220 minus 25 would make me 195 is my max predicted heart rate. So if you're looking at about 40 to 60% of that, that is kind of where your heart rate needs to be considered moderate intensity. And in a week, you need to do that for about 150 minutes total. So a good way of breaking that down, and one way we really like to preach, is if you do 3 days of 30-minute moderate intensity, or they recommend 70 minutes of vigorous, which just is 60+%. So if you go higher than that, you can do 2 days of simply 20 minutes. So it really doesn't take that much to reach the minimum. It can be done again by simply just slightly elevated. And again, even if you are just doing your day-to-day stuff by getting steps, you are still getting a good advantage to cardiovascular disease and preventing some of those other chronic diseases as well. But you do want to try a little bit more higher if you want to keep your basically adaptations and be able to have a higher functionality to your day-to-day life. Then you do want to try to push that a little bit more. And that'll give you a little bit more health benefits as well in the long term. We'll talk about kind of how to program and develop a little bit, but let's talk about why. Why exercise? What's so good about it? Is it really that important? I know everyone tells me it's good, but I'm comfortable the way I look. Great. You should be comfortable the way you look no matter what. But there's so many other reasons to do it. Everything can be from increasing your life expectancy. You fight off chronic diseases such as diabetes, heart disease, kidney disease, all those major diseases that kill you on the top 10 list. And we're going to talk about one of those top 10 in just a little bit as well too. But also it'll help your physical outputs. So every day-to-day life things you do, from opening a door to carrying grocery bags in, becomes easier and easier. You have basically getting around. I know a big frustration comes if it's super hot out and you're tired and you have to carry a bunch of stuff. But if you have more energy systems and you have better adaptations and more muscle mass to be able to do these things, you won't feel that frustration. That will also lead to maybe mental anxiety or anger coming out by physical exhaustion. So that helps again with mood as well too. A big one on special mood and fighting depression, a lot of anxiety and mental disorders would be basically increasing your REM cycle, or how deep of a sleep you can get. It's proven that if you're getting a good amount of sleep, not getting too much sleep, you're going to be able to have that cellular regeneration. You're going to be able to have basically fight to increasing those neurotransmitters that make your moods feel better, that dopamine and serotonin. And one of the most important is it also prevents Alzheimer's disease. So let's stop at that and talk about that real quick. Alzheimer's is a really big one. I think it's maybe 6 on the top 10 killers out there. And what happens is, as you are using your brain throughout the day, you have these things called neurotransmitters that the electrical signals jump from end to end. And the more you use it, the more they start to get these what's called APP plaque proteins to block it. And the more they build up, eventually, if they cut it off entirely, that receptor will die, killing the nerve. Killing the nerve. And so what happens is when you sleep, you actually flood your brain with blood, washing those APP plaque proteins away. So it's very important that you don't go long-term periods without having that sleep. Now, the reason why sleep is more important as well is because you also grow muscle and repair your damage done from the day too. Your tissue's repaired. That's when, if you have a nice good workout, you are going to be able to grow that tissue bigger and more efficient as well. So again, if you ever see those shirts, they'll say eat, sleep, train, repeat. You have to have the sleep factor in there, not only for mood, but even your physical abilities.
Train, repeat. I like that.
Exactly. Got to do all three. Can't just do one. Otherwise, you may be training like a Olympic athlete, but you may not see the results if you're not being able to have that growth occur on a cellular level. Another one is increases self-esteem. A lot of people find that they find that attractive level maybe a little bit more, or even just confidence is built when you're in the gym. Being able to get out there and being able to put yourself out there to try to better yourself builds that confidence, and confidence is attractive. People not only appeal well to confidence, but they also they're more likely to listen to what you're saying, which builds again your ethos, your own character that people see you as. And again, that is a lot of people find themselves what they look at a lot of. Do people like me? Do people do stuff like that? So you build that confidence, which allows you to kind of have that nice self-esteem with it as well. Another big one, which is very important, is you increase your libido. Better intimacy between a couple. Basically, you're going to have better sex. Let's say it like that. Also, you're going to be more productive in the workplace. It's been proven that having that clear circulation, having the clear mindset allows you to have better focus on tasks. You get more things done. You can multitask better. And then the work that you put out will be also more proficient overall as well. And then a big one, here's one of the last ones I'm going to go on, and for pros, because obviously there's a million reasons why you should exercise over the fact that you shouldn't. But the likelihood of falling is decreased. Not only that, but if you fall, your likelihood of injury is greatly decreased. And we'll talk about a big thing about falling. And again, this will show you how big a deal having that decrease in fall is for your overall life. Right. Let's talk about cons in case real quick. So yes, there are some negatives to training, but there really aren't that many. And it's more important on how you do it. The biggest one is overtraining. And this can come some people are like, oh, really? Is it overtraining? But yes, absolutely. If you're not sleeping and having enough diet, or you're just literally doing Olympic athletes. In fact, they said about 60% of college swimmers will go through something called either overtraining, or if they're a female, they may go through something called the female triad, big three. One, it can lead to eating disorders. Two, it can lead to osteoporosis because calcium is taken from your bones and given to the muscle because it needs more use for that muscle to occur, the contractions. And then also something called amenorrhea, which is irregular period cycles, right? It can mess with female hormones, and which can also lead to, again, brittle of the bone, and again, reproductive problems later down the line, which triggers also to the eating disorders as well, too. So you want to make sure that you're doing enough space. So one thing I always preach is if you're doing weightlifting, you don't want to do a lot of the same muscle groups over and over unless you're doing a full kind of functional lift and you're giving enough rest between it. But if you go out there and you say, oh, I want to bench 200 pounds, and you go and bench every day, you're not going to see yourself get a good increase. You may see it a little bit in the beginning, but eventually your body is going to be torn down. And think about it, it takes they recommend 48 to 72 hours to fully repair a muscle, because what you're doing is you're tearing that muscle apart so that it can regrow bigger and more efficient that entire time. And as it grows bigger and more efficient, it's healing those tears. And that's what you feel, and that soreness the next day is those micro tears and that inflammation in that muscle. Now, if you're not allowing that to fully repair those, think about it, you're tearing it, and then you tear it again, it's just going to get weaker and weaker. Your muscle is going to fatigue. And you can also have a lot of immunity problems coming from that increase in white blood cell count, which definitely we don't want to do right now with the wild virus going around terrorizing basically the world. All right, so let's see. Let's go back about that falling one. This one's very important to me. Here's a statistical fact that is very, very prevalent. So anyone over the age of 60 that breaks a hip, if you do not become active within 6 months, there is an 80% chance of fatality within a year. One more time. Above 60 of age, if you do not come active in 6 months, there's an 80% chance of fatality within a year. That just goes to show how important it is to be constantly moving, to be able to even just walk the neighborhood, take your dog on a walk, just keeping your heart in shape. That's the biggest thing that actually will occur, is what's called myopathy, or basically which can lead to heart failure, the changing shape of the heart, and basically can lead on a great decline. Now, if you become active, you'll be able to get right back on your feet. You'll be able to keep your heart moving, and you keep your organs moving at highest efficiency. Another thing, I actually have a close friend who is a type 1 diabetic. And that basically means he does not have the insulin receptors to receive the insulin. And before, when he was doing more cardio and stuff, he was constantly taking his glucose and stuff. It was well controlled. However, after he had to kind of munch a little bit more. However, he added weightlifting to it, which is actually one of the number one ways to control a lot of metabolic diseases like diabetes, because that's to do with the glucose stores in your muscles and the usage of the insulin as well. He was able to control that diabetes and not have to take his blood, but every maybe 2 weeks to a month, just to kind of check on it a little bit, and notice that how much easier it was to deal with this chronic disease that, again, he was given as an autoimmune. It wasn't from a lifestyle either. So let's get back to a little bit what I was kind of going on here about lifestyle. Again, it's all about preventative measures, right? You got to make these changes each day, and you got to be able to try to make it so you can be making healthy decisions and something that you want out of anything. Number one way to do it, and I say the ones that get the best results are the ones that put their mindset on it. Like I said earlier to Lena, if you put it on your cell phone, you put a timer. I myself have a 3-foot calendar on the wall with my meal preps, my dates and stuff. But you don't have to go that far. Again, you can start on smaller steps, but everything you do towards your health starts to benefit yourself. You want to kind of think of it as an accolade. Are you increasing your ability to just even move, to get up, to feel good? That potential is going to help you fight off anything from depression to not feeling good in general. So going on a little bit of spin here, but let's get back to what I was going about, cardiovascular disease. The number one killer out there, easily, by nearly double the next, is cancer being the second, cardiovascular disease. About 600,000 deaths in the U.S. annually occur, half of those being coronary artery disease. Now, the reason I want to bring this up, again, this is something super important to me, it's about preventative measures. So as you eat basically proteins, especially animal-based proteins, your body gives off a byproduct called hemocytosines. Now, what you want to think of these are is these little microscopic molecules that cut up your arteries. And if you know your arteries, you have an inner wall and an outer wall, right? Inner wall changes in dilations for blood pressure, and your outer wall is your support system. So that hemocytosine that's given off from eating those proteins will cut up the walls, and then your bad cholesterol will actually stick to the wall and start to get in between those two walls. And that's going to cause your arteries to start to close, right?
Mm-hmm.
Make it smaller. And if you think of it like a garden hose, you put your thumb on top of it, it's going to start the pressure to shoot out faster. And that's what high blood pressure is often occurred from. Now it can have other factors, but if it's chronically high blood, it means you're probably getting some kind of clot buildup on the walls. And that means now your heart has to lift weights to push the blood. It's lifting even harder, which means the wall of the muscle actually starts to thicken, which isn't a good thing because it stops loading with as much blood. It makes it so less blood gets filled, and it eventually can lead to what's called heart failure. But what's worse than that is if that ball of plaque gets too big and it breaks off, it forms what's called an embolism, where it free floats through the arteries until it can't float anymore. So basically, one of the smaller arteries you'll find is your coronary arteries, or the actual heart or blood that provides, the actual artery that provides blood to your heart. Now, if that gets into those tiny little arteries and blocks that off, that tissue is not going to have blood, and it's going to start to die. That is what a heart attack is. That is exactly what a heart attack is that blood tissue that's providing the actual oxygen to the heart tissue. Remember, heart is a muscle. It is called cardiac muscle, and it needs that oxygen. And if it doesn't, it starts to die. Now, that's one of the biggest things that you want to take out of this is if you start to have any pain, any symptoms, loss of consciousness, chest pains, pain in the limbs, especially swelling in the ankles because the blood's pulling in the feet and can be pulled back to the top, go get it looked at. You have no problem getting it checked out. It takes 10 minutes in and out, and that way you know you're good. But the worst thing people do is they wait, and the pain gets worse, and they wait, and they wait, and they wait. And that entire time they're waiting, that tissue is starting to die. And as cardiac tissue dies, you cannot bring it back. It is one of the few tissues that you cannot regenerate. So unfortunately, that means it's going to be harder for your heart to function if you wait longer. So the sooner you get in there, the sooner they can fix that block and stop that from even maybe damaging that tissue at all. Very important factors. Now, what I want to talk to you about is, have you ever been told to eat your greens, eat your veggies? Why is that? The reason is specifically B6, B12, and folic acid found in most foliage, think of it that way, is it breaks down those hemocytosines and it prevents them from cutting up your arteries in the first place, preventing those blocks from occurring and preventing from that blood pressure from starting to spike. Now, this starts happening from the moment you're 10 years old until the moment we die. Wow. That's why it's the number one killer, right? Because it starts to become a problem overall, and time after time, it starts to build up more and more. So the more you're bringing in those vitamins and the more you're preventing this from occurring, the better you're going to prevent that block buildup from occurring as well, too. So, again, it's lifestyle. That means with your healthy eating, right? And the problem is, if you look at it, you go to McDonald's, you go to a fast food place, you get high protein, animal-based beef, chicken, whatever it is, but you're not getting foliage, greens, you're not getting those B vitamins with it. And that's what causes such a big damaging factor. And again, if you're just focusing on that, and you got to start focusing on it, because before it comes a problem. Remember, when heart tissue dies, you can't bring it back. That's why it's the number one killer out there. 600 million people a year, right?
So the B vitamins, John, are what we need to help.
Absolutely.
Heart. Okay.
And avoiding high sugar as well, too. Very important. High sugar not only is really bad for obesity, but it's also bad for your heart. It's bad for your liver as well, too.
Vitamins, guys. You guys hearing that? Comment. Keep commenting. We see you. We see you, Diane. Thank you for joining us. Rochelle, hello. Hi, Shawnee. I want you guys to hang on because we're going to have some questions. You can ask John some questions during the end of this broadcast, okay? All right, John, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Not a problem. So let's talk about sugar one more time real quick. And not only is it leading to massive amounts of cardiovascular disease increase, and you can actually trace that from after Eisenhower had a heart attack. He used to be a big sugary guy. The sugar companies basically lobbied so that they'd hide the evidence and blamed it on high fat increase. And although certain fats and increase in excessive fats is bad for the heart as well, it was really a large increase for sugar. So what they started doing was basically demonizing fat and saying, oh, fat free, but in order to make it taste better, they chocked it full of sugar, which is even worse. Not only was it carcinogenic, causing cancer, but it led to heart disease, diabetes, increased obesity. The number one cause of obesity, I can't talk right now, sorry guys, is again that excess sugar. And I'll go over that one in just a minute. And so basically they can see it increase as that. So they'd sell reduced fat items with full of sugar and people thought it was healthier, but in fact, they're actually getting it worse than if they just had a little bit of those fats. So one thing I'm sure Lena has heard me say a million times is soda is the epitome of evil. And the reason that is because anytime you have that excessive sugar, especially that redefined sugar, about 35 to 40 grams of it, your body goes into something called hyperinsulinemia. Now, what that means is your pancreas is now going to release excessive amounts of insulin. What insulin does is it takes those sugars or carbs and puts them into your cells to actually convert them into energy later. Now, as that happens, it has all this insulin put in it, and because it's a simple sugar, it's immediately put in the cell, but it still has all this insulin left over, and it's free floating throughout your body. So your body starts to become more and more intolerant to it. So instead of it being able to be absorbed like that, it says, well, just kind of a visual here. Instead of one carb to one insulin, you start using one carb to 4 insulins, 1 to 5, 1 to 10, and the process slows down even more. And that's what type 2 diabetes is, right? Mm-hmm. You're not able to put in that sugar out of your blood into your cell to convert it into energy fast enough, and it starts to lead to a lot of other problems. But again, on the obesity side, because you have an excessive amount of that high octane energy known as fat known as sugar, right? Think sugar high. You got all that energy coming in. Your body is now going to convert that remaining into fat. It dumps all that sugar from your liver, again, the stored sugar, into your bloodstream, and then converts that into fat, which now you can't even use for another 6 to 8 hours. So it doesn't matter how hard you're working on that. That fat is being blocked while you're converting that sugar into fat, right? So half your day is ruined. You can do that simply by having one soda. Think about that. So you have a soda at 12. Earliest you're going to start burning those fats is about 4 to 6 o'clock in the afternoon. Excuse me. So avoid those sugars. Not only they cause cancer, everything else, right? Sugar is not great for you, but it's a kind of sugars. So if you want to switch to a substitute, big thing I always preach and what we used to preach at the rehab center, cardiac rehab center, is using like coconut sugar or honey. Something with you want to look at something's called the glycemic index, the GI of that. Now, things with a low glycemic index means low absorption rate, or how it's get put into the cell, right? It's slowly put over time. It doesn't spike that insulin that causes all those problems. And again, coconut sugar actually has the lowest. It's a glycemic index of 35. So if you like it in your coffee and you like to put a little sugar, or you can even bake with it, it has a kind of an off caramel taste, but it still tastes rather really good to me. But let's talk about one more major factor I really want to talk about with you guys, and that's going to be basically diet. I think is next. Most basic idea. A lot of people say, well, how do you lose weight? Well, how do you gain muscle? Well, it's really relative to what your diet is. You can work your butt off and really put in work in the gym and running and everything else. But if you're not bringing the tools to fix your body or to grow muscle or to burn fat, then you're not going to be able to get the results you want. So the basic idea of weight loss is that you are burning more calories than you're consuming. Most basic idea to grow or to gain weight, whether it's muscle or fat, is to bring in more calories than you burn, right? So if you're bringing in more calories, though, you want to be careful what those calories are, where they come from. Are they higher proteins? Are they higher fats? Because that's going to determine whether you turn it into that muscle or whether you turn it into fat. Now, again, though, you still want to have a good amount of protein coming in, but when you're having that protein, be mindful of those B vitamins we talked about. You want to make sure you're giving that buffer window for basically what's called arteriosclerosis, or the hardening of the arteries. And you want to also give yourself the proper amount of vitamins and minerals. And so a lot of people ask me, what are some of the best diets? What do you want to look for? And it really is relative to your goals, but a lot of them still have the same standards in health. A lot of problems with keto, in my opinion, is some people, then you can do it right if you do it right, but it's really hard. People cut out so many vitamins and minerals. They say no carbs, but where do you get most of those carbs, right? From those veggies, those greens, stuff like that. That's where you're getting all those vitamins and minerals, those B vitamins that prevent that heart disease, that help you with your energy systems. Not to mention, when you consume those B vitamins, you actually increase your metabolism up to 10%. So you're going to be burning even more, right? That's why I say drink green tea too, because it helps increase your metabolism. Some B vitamins in there as well too. Biggest thing I say, avoid fried foods. Fried foods are my favorite, but they're the worst for you. So you absolutely need to cut them out or eat them on a rare occasion. I'm not saying you can't have a good meal every now and then, but moderation is key. Once again, if your goal is to lose weight, you got to be burning more than you're consuming. And always think about your health too, because it's really bad for the arteries. Well, it's important when I say, well, what do you want to eat to kind of visualize? Again, it's relative to you, but think about eating the rainbow. The more color diversity you have in your diet, the more likely you're getting different types of vitamins and minerals and healthier food intake anyway. If you think, just look at salads, bananas, fruits, veggies. That's what you're thinking, most of it. You want to have a larger plant-based diet and then having proportional proteins. And then if you can, have a little bit higher plant-based proteins, which is a little bit better for your arteries as well too. I personally do more of a paleo mix where I focus on chicken and fish in smaller portions, and then trying to have more plant-based things such as seeds, chickpeas, roasted chickpeas, hummus, Greek yogurt, great probiotic. Again, more vegetarian-based proteins in that sense. I avoid sugar like the plague as much as I can. Again, it's one of the worst things you can have, especially that redefined sugar. But again, having moderation is key. If it's your birthday, have that cake, enjoy it. Not telling you not to. But are you thinking about it this way? Is it going to be every day that you're not eating to help you, you're eating to hurt you, right? So think of it. It's all about the mindset. Now, again, little side note too. If you are thinking about meal prepping and how you want to do it, one thing I always preach is try not to do more than about 5 days at a time. If you do too many days and you focus too long on it, you're probably not going to stick to it, and you'll start repeating too many meals, and then you're going to kind of fall off the edge. Plan it out, write it out, take it to the grocery store, have your list, know exactly what you're doing ahead of time, and then take the time to pre-cook and pre-do the things that you can. Cut the fruit, put them in containers. If you want to cook chicken, season it the way you want to. You can have it ready and then heat it up and put it on whatever you need to. But have your preparation planned and have your organization on it as well too. But again, kind of tie everything in here real quick. Biggest thing is lifestyle. If you are focused on bringing it all together, you're focused on your diet. Are you trying to exercise and do it for health? Are you trying to increase your physical output? Are you trying to help prevent depression? Whatever it is, think about it as a lifestyle. You want to fully commit. You want this. You want to make this change. You want to write it out. You want to put your mindset on it. You want to follow it through. And that's the best way to kind of get the results.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
Alrighty. So do we have any questions, guys?
All right, guys. This is a time for your questions, comments. Come on, don't be shy. If you're thinking about working out, you have questions about dieting, this is the perfect time. Just write your comments. Now, if you are sharing this as a watch party, then we cannot see your comments. I have a question, John, because you were talking about fried food. So what about this phenomenon we have now with the air fryers? So is that healthier?
Absolutely, because you're not using the oils and the fats to fry it. So you're pretty much just using it as kind of a convection. It's definitely healthier. Again, how it's prepared will always be important as far as your health. Have you pre-oiled it, pre-salted it high, whatever you did is a factor. But the fact that you're not using oils or fats in this case to cook it, absolutely it is much healthier. Yeah, so I am for it. Definitely a better way of doing it.
All right, so air frying is better, guys, so no oils.
Does anyone have any questions on risk assessment for cardiovascular disease? We can go over that. Do you feel any questions on specific chronic diseases, how to prevent it, or how do I get started with a program? What's my goal? Any questions at all on that, man?
Type of man, and we can show your questions. We can get them answered. Any questions about dieting, cardiovascular disease, how to prevent some of these diseases? Where do you find that coconut sugar? Can you find it anywhere, or do you have to go to?
It's pretty much most places. I found it. Kroger's, Kroger has it. Publix has it. Food Line, I think, has it. So I think it's pretty big in almost everywhere I look. And you can really use just a small amount, and it goes a pretty far away. So, and then honey's another good one too. If you have a lot of knee pains or inflammation issues, big three is green tea, turmeric, or asparagus. That helps. If you add that to your diet, will help with joint pains, inflammations. If you're looking for a supplement as well to that, you can take fish oil. Fish oil is good for joints. Also helps prevent Alzheimer's, helps with preventive heart disease, a lot of other ones. In fact, fish oil is one of the best supplements you can take on the side. Whole nother spiel unless you want to know about that. But you have to comment if you do.
All right, questions and comments are coming in. Rochelle, you're so funny. So she said, thanks. She has one, but she never used it. Her air fryer. She says it's been doing for 3 years.
Well, hey, it's better than frying it. So
it's better than frying, sis, with no oil. All right, and then we have a question. What's good for asthma? That's a good question, John, because I know a lot of people had told me to cut out dairy with asthma, but I'll let you take that one.
No, absolutely. That's a great question. And dairy is a good point. In fact, dairy is one of the best ways to really start with as far as diet. It causes inflammation and mucus buildup. So you have that excess mucus that makes it harder for your air to travel in and out. And then as far as what you can do health-wise is you want to increase your cardiovascular systems. You want to start maybe easing into walking and then doing a little faster paces. And again, one of the biggest things that I always preach, not only for weight loss, but for increasing overall health, cardiovascular, and in this case, lung, which would be the vascular side, is pulmonary side, is being able to do lower moderate intensities, that 40 to 60%. Not only do you actually burn more fats at lower moderate intensities, then the higher you go, you burn more carbs, right? If you're trying to lose weight, you want to stay in that fat range longer, but you're able to maintain that above normalcy in your heart and your cardiovascular systems. And that longer and of a above average intensity is much better for your actual overall health, your airways, your cardio systems, blood systems overall too, than doing a faster intensity for 10, 15 minutes and being done. Now, if your goal was to be a sprinter and you're trying to increase your athletic outputs, then absolutely you want to go faster. But again, if you're looking on weight loss and overall health, start at a lower moderate intensity. Something, again, take 220 minus your age and do about 40 to 60% of that, somewhere in that range. So for example, my heart range would be about 145, 155, in between there. Good would be 150 for me primarily. But if you're anywhere from 30, you would probably do, again, about 140, 145. And then as it gets above 50, you would do about 125 to 130 range. So really holding that above moderate intensity, going for longer periods of time, and then focus on certain dietary stuff. Things that will cause inflammation, especially dairy, like I said, and then avoid those anti-inflammation things, bring those into your diet, such as asparagus, turmeric, and ginger. There's a really good ginger recipe on my Instagram. It's ginger, green tea, and honey. Fantastic combination. Not only is it great for weight loss, it's great for mood, cardiovascular, preventative cancer. There's a whole lesson on there. If you check out my Instagram, it's on there as well. But it's a good one. Drink soy.
Drink soy.
Okay, cool. So I'm glad you brought up soy. So soy is a very good one. Real quick about soy. How much soy you bring in is very important, okay? Especially with men. Soy will actually increase your estrogen levels, right? So if you're a man and you have excessive estrogen levels, it's going to make it have a lot of other issues. Now, if you're a girl still, though, you're going to slow down your testosterone. And your testosterone is used to grow muscle, right? You use it directly in growing muscle tissue. Now, if you have it in moderation, that's absolutely fine. But be careful with the amount you totally bring in. As you let's see, for testosterone, so as you have more muscle, right, for every pound of muscle you gain, you burn about an extra 50 calories. So by having more muscle mass, you're also going to burn more calories, but also store more calories. 1/3 of those carbs are stored directly in your muscle as glycogen. So now, again, you can have a little bit more brought in, but you burn more for the average day movements you do, even just staying there doing nothing. So a good way of losing that weight is, again, grow a little bit of muscle tissue. But again, the number one is that diet. Are you burning more calories? Simple as that.
All right. She also asked about, I think all of us have asked this question of a personal trainer at one point. Shawnee, I'm telling you, I know what he's going to say, but I'm going to ask him. Losing our little stomach. How do we work on that stomach pooch, that little pouch that we have?
Absolutely. Okay. So again, unfortunately, you can't spot train fat, but you can spot train your muscles. So the idea is, I can't do 1 million sit-ups and just lose the fat directly around my abs. You lose it evenly throughout your body. It is simply, you want to think of it as a little bank vault that you store added energy to your body. And if you bring in way too much energy and you know your body's not going to use it, you're going to store it for later, because your body doesn't know that you're not walking around the desert and you couldn't eat in 5 days. So you're storing that, right? Now, the only way to get rid of that bank vault is to start running out of that immediate checkings account over here. And then you got to dip into the savings account. The more you dip into that saving account, the more you start to lose that weight. And unfortunately, it's evenly throughout your body. So again, that stomach is often one of the last places that people lose it. It's called adenoid processing. It's just unfortunately where it stays a little bit more. So increased cardiovascular is going to allow for that blood release to that fat, but also burning more than you're consuming. Simple as that. No magic equation. You either consume less food overall, less calories, right, while still maintaining your health, your proteins, your vitamins, your minerals. Don't starve yourself, or your body will go into starvation mode. And then also, or you can do increasing the amount you're burning, so that adding more exercise. You can do more days longer, more intensity, whatever it is. Though, if you're burning more, you're bringing in, or you're burning more than you're consuming, or again, you're eating less, you're consuming more or less than you're burning it that day too. So just focus on trying out a little bit of both. You never want to do it just one alone. Otherwise, eating alone is going to be much harder. Just doing it without exercise, or you can have a little bit more moderation if you're exercising a little bit more. Again, and then bringing in the more calories, or burning more calories than you're getting in that day.
So Shawnee and Rochelle, we're gonna have to do that cardio, y'all. We're gonna have to do it. Are waist trainers good to use?
Another very good question. So I think, if I'm correct, you're talking about the bands that go around the waist and kind of make you sweat a little bit more. If that's what you're talking about, basically what it does is it's dehydrating your body to make it look like you're actually losing it. But all you're doing is taking the water out of the fat cells, for then when the next time you hydrate, it's just going to fill them back up again. So it's just a temporary look. So if you were doing a photo shoot and you wanted to look good in the next hour or two, then absolutely. But is actually losing weight? No, unfortunately, it's just another trend that tricks you into thinking it's working, but only to, once you rehydrate, go back to the normal levels you had before.
Okay, she indicated yes, that's what she was talking about.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's a big scam in the fitness industry. There's a lot of stuff people push on. I'm also not a huge advocate necessarily for vitamins. I think it's good as an additive, but I think you should be focusing on your vitamins coming directly more from your food sources, from your diet intake in general.
Okay. All right. You're welcome, Shawnee. Yes, we're going to have to do that cardio.
There we go.
Lose this belly fat.
Nice.
Great questions, guys. What else do you have? Go ahead, John. I'm sorry I cut you off.
No, you're good. I was going to say a good question I always get asked, unless someone has another one, is what I think about fasting. Fasting is actually a fantastic form of dietary control. If you wait, depending on what time you wake up, if you fast or don't eat for about 4 or 5 hours, especially if you can get that exercise done in the morning before you eat, you can benefit a greatly amount. You start burning fat much more efficiently. You're at a nice caloric deficit already. So you're going to be using that fat, right? You haven't gotten your paycheck for the week, so you're going to have to dip into the bank account early. And then you also release that fat, which burns ketones, which is good for your brain, helps with neuroplasticity, prevents Alzheimer's. And then you can also focus on your diet being more strict to a certain time frame. You can still eat your 3 square meals, 4 square meals, depending on what your goal is, but it's more in a shorter window that allows for your body to metabolize the food before you go to sleep. Because think about it this way. Remember, all that blood that was in your stomach and is working on digesting is now going to go into your brain, flood your brain, washes those plaque away. So it's not going to be processed as fast. It's not going to be able to be stored and utilized in the way that you necessarily may want it. So you have a shorter window. It's a good one to kind of do.
Very good, John. That's a lot of great information.
Thank you.
So any more questions about the pros and cons of exercising, dietary needs, cardiovascular disease, diabetes? Oh, we have one. Is cider vinegar good as well to lose weight? Yeah, we hear a lot about that, John.
So as far as a weight loss, I've been, from what I've read and been told, again by doctors too, is that it doesn't actually contribute to weight loss. It is helps detox again with the liver a little bit, but it's not a direct weight loss. What's better would be green tea. And again, higher greens, higher folics, those B vitamins increases your metabolism. It's the actual thing that helps break down cellularly and use their energy systems and create energy systems. So you're better on focusing on your diet. And again, green tea, stuff like that. Again, that's why you see in all those weight loss supplements and advertisements, they try to say green tea weight loss, green tea extract, because it is such a good proficient one. It's good for a good detox, but as far as, again, what I've been taught, it's not a good way. It's not a weight loss.
Not a safe way, I would say, to lose to lose the weight. Okay.
Absolutely. Yep.
All right.
Yeah, I've heard that one a lot. A lot of people ask on that one.
Yeah, I've heard that, and some people, I mean, they do it daily. They drink vinegar. Yeah. They say that helps with the belly fat as well. I've heard that. Great question, Rochelle. Thanks for bringing that one up.
I did another good one though is red wine, which the idea is similar to the vinegar. Is it 4 to 6 ounce glass of red wine not only actually will decrease your chance of heart disease significantly, but it'll also help you lose basically body fat as well, a little bit more efficient. And that was a study done by Harvard as well too. So that one was pretty well documented on that.
Okay. Red wine, 4 to 6 ounces.
But no more. Don't do it in excess. Again, alcohol not good for fat release, not good in excess for the brain, body, liver. So, Any other questions, guys? Any other health questions? How to start a plan?
Well, we had very good questions. I think I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. I really appreciate it. John, thank you so much for your expertise. I really appreciate you jumping on here tonight. So everybody, all I ask you to do is please share, like, and encourage those who you may feel would benefit from this information to watch the replay. The replay will be on our YouTube channel, our website, and our Facebook page. And if you are feeling pain as a result of a loss of any kind, we can help. So please contact us via our website, www.foreverheal.com, or by giving us a call, 804-684-1113. And as always, follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Forever Healed, 2 words, and on Twitter, the number 4 Ever Healed. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, where we will be sharing educational videos on grief. I want you guys to have a peaceful night. And remember that you can do this. And I'm going to post John's information so that you will have that. So at the replay, somebody said too, what's his Instagram? So let me put that up for you, Miss Tanya. Thank you.
I have daily video workouts, health nutrition guides, all kinds of stuff, especially Instagram and Facebook, top 2. If you're interested in talking health screening, how to start a program, you can reach me at that Facebook or my Gmail. That's globaljohn94@gmail.com. But reach out to me if you have any questions or if you're interested in even just discussing health or possibilities. Let me know.
So there it is, guys. Facebook, John Goble. Instagram, Global Fitness. And email, globaljohn94@gmail.com. Shani, you are so welcome. Thank you so much for joining in. And again, next week, we will have Janae Cameron here to talk a little bit more about exercise. She's going to talk about our commitment, and she's going to talk about meal prep. Oh, wait a minute. Somebody said I might have forgot a question. Hang on. I'm sorry. Let's look. Thank you, Winchell. Great information. So now you guys see what I'm blessed to have on a weekly basis, my personal training. Shani, what was your question? Did I miss one? Oh, I did. I'm sorry. Here you go. She said her mother has diabetes. It's hard to maintain her level. Suggestions. Sorry about that, sweetheart. There you go.
Absolutely. So we'll talk about diet because that's going to be very big in a second. But again, the best modality of exercise is actually weightlifting. Again, like I said, 1/3 of your carbs, which is basically what insulin uses and it's sends back and forth into the cell, is stored in your muscles. And if you have bigger muscles or better utilization of that energy stores between them, you're going to be able better at dealing with not only the stores, but the usage of that sugar, that glycogen, which will control that diabetes, that blood sugar level. So I do recommend at least 2 to 3 times a week of some kind of resistance training. It could be functional training. It doesn't have to be powerlifting over here, but you want some kind of resistance training with it. And then being mindful, especially of excessive sugar intakes. You can have your fruit, fructose, that kind of sugar is fine. But again, if you're drinking especially high sugary things or you're having super sweet desserts and stuff, you want to make those changes, big changes. If you have bread, white breads and stuff, you want to go to whole wheat, whole grain. If you see things that say enriched or bleached, it means sugar has been added to it, especially in flour and crackers, stuff like that. And if you see a lot of oses, anything glucose, dextrose, maltodextrose, all those oses, OSE, it means it's a type of sugar. So if it has an excessive amount of those in the back of the ingredients, then you're probably getting a lot of those different sugars. And that sugar is what causes that spike in insulin, which again leads to that diabetes, that insulin intolerance. So top 2, weightlifting, mind that sugar intake, eat more hearty foods, more full vegetables, higher greens, have more plant-based, and then make sure you're also getting a good source of protein.
Very good. All right. I think we got everybody. Sweet. So thank you, guys. We want you to have a peaceful rest tonight. And again, we got this. We can do it. You can do this. So continue to join us Monday nights, and we're going to keep these conversations going about our physical and mental health. Have a great night, everybody.